I never thought living in a quiet neighborhood could turn into a daily battle. I never asked for it. All began when we moved into what seemed like the perfect community: tree-lined streets, freshly painted houses, friendly neighbors. At first everything seemed normal, but then came Karen, the HOA member. Everyone had warned us about the one who prided herself on rules and control, a woman who believed her interpretation of perfection was law, and she made it clear from the start that our presence in this neighborhood would be tested. We started noticing the small things first. An unexpected fine for a flower bed she claimed was out of code, a warning letter about trash cans despite never moving them, and strange complaints from neighbors who suddenly seemed aligned with her. Every email from the HOA office carried her signature, sharp and unyielding, and soon the atmosphere in our home changed. The joy and laughter that once filled our living room began to fade, replaced by tension and fear of the next letter or call. The smallest misstep felt monumental, as if the entire neighborhood was watching, ready to judge and criticize our every move. I remember the night we discovered that she had organized a covert meeting, spreading false claims about our family. The betrayal stung deeply, knowing someone could manipulate facts so easily. It was terrifying, yet it fueled a quiet determination inside me. I decided that we could not just sit and accept this injustice. If someone wanted to wage a war of rules and intimidation, we would answer with truth and strategy. I began gathering everything, every letter, every complaint, every moment of harassment, documenting dates and times, talking to neighbors, quietly seeking their experiences, and realizing I was not alone in this fight. Other families had quietly endured. Her overreach, her manipulation, her obsession with power was far from just our problem. It was a community problem. Each story added layers to the evidence and strengthened my resolve. I sought legal counsel, people who understood HOA rules and community law, who explained how unchecked power can harm families and communities. The first consultations were overwhelming. The bureaucracy seemed impenetrable, but I knew I had to persist. I spent nights organizing files, cross-referencing emails with notices, with verbal threats. Every detail mattered, and slowly the picture became undeniable. The pattern of abuse was clear. Strict enforcement, they were targeted and intentional. She used fear as a weapon, and many had suffered quietly for years. With evidence in hand, we called for mediation meetings. Every step tense, every step emotional. Karen tried to intimidate and charm her way through, but the calm preparation and facts could not be denied. Each witness statement added weight. Each piece of documentation revealed the truth layer by layer, and then came the day of the hearing. The courtroom was filled with community members, friends, families, all who had suffered and observed this relentless control. I could feel the energy. It was a combination of hope and tension as I stepped forward, presenting our case. Methodically, narratively, every example laid out clearly the patterns of harassment, the fines that made no sense, the false reports, the intimidation tactics. Karen attempted to speak over me, tried to twist the narrative, but the calm, detailed, evidence-backed approach left little room for distortion. Each question from the judge further exposed the reality. We had been living with. The room was silent, even as she tried to assert herself. The truth had a presence that could not be ignored. It was visible in the reactions of the neighbors, the sighs of relief from those who had been silenced for too long. The moment of decision arrived. The judge reviewed every piece of evidence, every statement, and finally pronounced the ruling, protecting our family and others from further harassment. It was a victory not just for us, but for every neighbor who had quietly lived under fear for years. Tears welled in my eyes as I realized the weight that had been lifted. The neighborhood would finally breathe again. This ruling changed everything. The HOA was restructured, new guidelines were set, and Karen lost the unchecked power she had wielded for so long. The aftermath was emotional. Families came forward to share their relief and gratitude. The children who had been silently affected by her behavior could play without fear of arbitrary punishments. I walked home that evening feeling a sense of justice that was not born from revenge but from truth and perseverance. Realize that the darkest moments can become catalysts for change, that courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is persistent and careful, and the bonds of community can triumph over tyranny. Looking back, I am proud of the calm determination that kept me going. The late nights organizing evidence, the countless meetings, the tense negotiations, the fear that sometimes gripped us all. It was worth it because we stood for something bigger than ourselves. The story is not just about a battle with An HOA member, it is about standing up when rules are used as weapons. It is about protecting family dignity and fostering a community where fairness prevails, and even in moments when it felt hopeless. I found that persistence, preparation, and courage can transform fear into power and injustice into resolution, and now as I watch the neighborhood slowly return to its peaceful rhythm, I am reminded that vigilance is necessary, but so is hope, and the belief that one person's determination can inspire change for many, and that even in a world that sometimes feels dominated by control and fear, there is space for truth, compassion, and justice to prevail. And I hope this story inspires anyone listening to stand up calmly and strategically against forces that threaten fairness, because victory is not measured by destruction, but by the lasting peace and protection you create for yourself, your family, and your community. It is a reminder that no one should ever feel powerless, that the voice of reason and evidence can carry enormous weight, and that communities can heal when courage and truth guide action. And in the end, I realized that justice is not just a word. It is an ongoing process that requires vigilance, empathy, and relentless commitment. And as the sun sets over the neighborhood, the laughter of children and the warmth of families fills the air once again, and that is the true measure of victory, the restoration of peace, trust, and a community where everyone can thrive without fear, where accountability exists, and where the actions of one cannot overshadow the rights of many. And so this chapter closes not with vengeance or hate, but with resilience, justice, and the knowledge that fairness, when pursued with patience and courage, will always find a way to shine through, no matter how long it takes. And the story of Karen, the HOA member, is now a lesson for all of us, that power must be balanced by responsibility, and that standing up for what is right can transform not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you. Asterisk.